coming up on Network Africa. Spanish troops patrol Ceuta after thousands of migrants surge into the Spanish enclave. South Africa's foreign minister rejects allegations by Ghana on the treatment of his nationals, forcing their repatriation. At least 25 people killed, dozens more injured after passenger bus overturned near the coastal town of Diplomat in Nigeria.
Are you ready for the thrill, the grit, and the glory? Feel the energy.
This is where legends are born. Every game, every match, every moment.
Witness the passion.
From the court to the track, into the stadium, everywhere in between, we've got you covered.
Celebrate the journey.
It's not just sports, it's life in motion.
This is where every sport comes alive. Your all-access pass to the world of sports. At these times, only on Channels Television.
Hello and welcome to the program again. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Thousands of migrants have been pouring into the Spanish North African territory of Ceuta from Morocco. Authorities estimating this may have happened in the last 24 hours. They also discovered that at least 34 people died during the process of making the crossing. The influx comes after Spain's Supreme Court ruled that migrants stopped at sea while trying to reach Ceuta or Melilla, another Spanish enclave, cannot be summarily returned to Morocco. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez described the situation as an attack and said all illegal migrants will be returned to Morocco as soon as possible. Several European leaders have expressed concern, some promising to tighten border controls. The UK's Prime Minister Andy Burnham and the French President Emmanuel Macron have offered to help Spain. Ceuta, on Morocco's northern coast, is separated from mainland Spain by the Strait of Gibraltar and has long been a focal point for migrants attempting to reach Europe. Ceuta's President Juan Jesus Vivas said the situation was unsustainable and that the recent arrivals amounted to 70% of the city's population, which sits at around 83,600, according to the latest local figures. Meanwhile, Spain has had to deploy troops and extra police to Ceuta after the surge of migrants from Morocco. Civil guard officers and military vehicles were deployed across the enclave as crowds streamed into Spanish territory. People were soaked after swimming around the coastal barriers, while others cheered after reaching shore. However, chaos erupted along Morocco's northern frontier after massive attempts to reach the Spanish enclaves. Vehicles were engulfed in flames in Beni Ansar as thick smoke rose above the streets packed with crowds. The most intense clashes unfolded in Finidec, neighboring Ceuta, where thousands converged near the border overnight. Multiple vehicles were set ablaze, whilst both civilians and security personnel were reported injured during the confrontations. At the same time, fresh attempts to breach the frontier were reported near Melilla, with hundreds trying to enter through border gates, perimeter fencing, and coastal routes. Over now to the immigration crisis in South Africa. The country's international relations minister, Ronald Lamola, says the government has a sovereign right to enforce its immigration laws, while insisting that authorities will not tolerate violence or vigilantism. He was making the comment on the sidelines of an AU meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He says the security situation from the protests and attacks on foreigners has largely stabilized, and the police have arrested over 82 people nationwide for offences including looting, vandalism, and taking the law into their own hands. Mr. Lamola's remarks follow a petition by 2 Ghanaian nationals urging the International Criminal Court to investigate the attacks as possible crimes against humanity. Ghana has also raised concerns over the violence at the African Union, while Nigeria raised similar objections.
We also briefed them about the current situation in migration in South Africa, that now the situation has stabilized, there has been isolated incidents, and that there is now a process that the IMC is undertaking to ensure that irregular migration is addressed. Like any other country, they all agree that South Africa, like any other country, has a sovereign right to enforce its own immigration laws. The issue they all raise, as I always say, is the violence, sometimes the isolated incidents that do happen. And we also briefed them that our law enforcement agency is on top of the situation. They've already arrested about 82 people countrywide in relation to them taking the law into their own hands, including offenses of looting, of vandalism of property, and so forth, which shows the firm hand that the South African government has put in this matter.
Staying in South Africa, the Nigerian Consulate General in Johannesburg has confirmed the death of a Nigerian citizen in South Africa and is working with the family and relevant authorities as investigations continue. Our South Africa correspondent Innocent Moses sat down with the Consul General to provide an update on the case and the support being offered to Nigerians in the country.
The death of 42-year-old Ibe Chika Simon comes at a time of heightened diplomatic tensions between South Africa and Nigeria, following allegations that Nigerians have been targeted in acts of xenophobic violence. I sat down with Nigeria's Consul General in Johannesburg, Ninikanwa Oke Uche.
The case is currently under investigation. We do know we've lost him. We do know he's one of our brothers. And we do know that the circumstances are questionable. Right now, the IPID, Independent Police Investigation Directorate or Department, I believe, IPID has taken over the case, and we're quite happy to see there's activity, because we have a lot of cases that have not been taken up and have not been resolved. So I think the responsible thing to do is to actually wait for the outcome of their investigation. But already we do know that there is alleged foul play, bruises to the chest and the back. You know, there are marks that were on his body that were not self-inflicted.
The Nigerian mission says it is engaging South African authorities and providing consular assistance to Nigerians living in South Africa.
Well, that is an interesting question. I wish I had the power to ensure not only that we would have a thorough investigation, but that our people will stop being killed under questionable circumstances. We don't have that power. That's why we look up to the South African government and the authorities to put a stop to all of this.
With a heavy heart, she read out the names of Nigerian nationals who lost their lives allegedly at the hands of the police over the years.
Ibe Chika Simon might be who we're talking about today because it's recent. We have over 20 others. We want justice for all. All of these lives matter. I've gone as far as mentioning these names today because we mustn't forget their names. And the only thing I would tell my people is the same thing we always say: you must remain calm, you must be law-abiding, you must avoid crime and criminality. We need to live right, not just at home, but abroad as well.
The Nigerian consulate says it remains committed to ensuring that the matter is treated with dignity. Ambassador Ninikanwa Oke Uche, Consulate General of Nigeria in South Africa, Johannesburg, said that she's sailing with the words from her Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, quote unquote, "Our citizens abroad must feel the presence, responsiveness, and protection of their government through our mission." From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Simos, Channels Television News.
Let's talk some politics. Now, a growing disconnect is emerging between Nigeria's online political activism and real-world civic engagements, with new findings revealing that many young people remain detached from the country's political process. Reports show a significant number of Nigerian youth cannot identify their electoral wards, local government areas, or even their elected representatives at the state and federal levels. While social media has become a powerful platform for demanding accountability on good governance, that enthusiasm rarely translates into offline political participation. Researchers say fears of election-related violence, distrust in the electoral system, and a lack of interest continue to discourage many young Nigerians from engaging physically in politics. Despite those concerns, the study found a strong optimism among the youth, with many saying they're ready to participate more actively if elections become safer, more transparent, and more inclusive. Joining us now to discuss some more about the political activism gap, or the lack of it thereof, is journalist and researcher James Adakole. He joins me here in the studio. James, great to see you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're the one who wrote this report, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. So, first of all, what triggered your interest in this?
Yes. So basically, I've been interested in measuring the level of offline political involvement of young people, because we've seen a renewed resurgence of interest. You know, when you go online every day, you see people talking about bad governance, they want good governance, they want good rules and all of that. So as a researcher, the curiosity was there to actually find out how are these people actually engaged. Do they participate beyond this online advocacy? Do they turn up when it really matters? Do they walk the talk? So that inspired this research.
Yeah, and most times when it comes to elections, we see the young people at the campaigns.
Yeah.
You know, we see them join the political parties, but when it comes to voting, unfortunately, young people have been quite synonymous with violence in this country. But I'm suspecting that, you know, your report found that many Nigerian youths cannot identify their wards. I think this is true.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure that this is true. People can't even identify their local government areas or elected representatives. I don't think this is just a young people's problem. I think it's a general problem, really. Most of us really can't identify our local government areas or elected representatives. I can count how many times I've seen the ones in my own area. Okay. I'm not sure that I even know who they are. What do you say about civic education in Nigeria? This is something that should be taught in schools, right? Or, you know, something that, you know, people should take the responsibility to know.
Yeah, definitely. It's good you cited your own experience. That maybe you can't recognize some of the representatives, and it's a big question. Like, it's part of it shows we need to overhaul the system, and you know, there's this phrase that we should catch them young. We go to a lot of schools. We need to find out what is the component of what is being taught in civic education and all this. So because if you look at the research, for instance, it shows that people don't even know the names of their representatives, and if you don't know who represents you at the ward level, at the local government level, at state assembly, how do you demand accountability? How do you bring about good leadership?
Yeah. And it also makes you easier to manipulate, you know, because you don't know these people. Yeah. Fear of violence, distrust in the electoral process, safety concerns, these are all genuine concerns before the elections. How can the governments, INEC, security agencies, even the political parties ensure that young people are interested in voting at the elections and participating in politics the right way?
That's a big question, and especially, you know, with 2027 around the corner, and I think it has to do with, you know, just those in authority giving a sense of assurance to the Nigerian voters that, look, we are ready to protect you, we are ready to give you a platform that guarantees accountability. But unfortunately, it's also a bit of a worry, because we have seen people in recent elections. We saw that of the FCT poll, where there's so low turnout. We saw that of the Ekiti election too, where the turnout was pegged at 37%, which is just a little improvement compared to what we see in 2022, which was 36.47%. And it's also far short of what we saw in 2014 Ekiti, where we have 49% turnout. So this turnout sort of raise concern, because when people are not guaranteed of their safety, and when we look at what's even happening in the country currently, we begin to wonder what 2027 is going to look like. So the security agencies, INEC, they have to double up and assure Nigerians that, look, we are here for you. You can go out to vote. Your security is guaranteed, and your votes will count.
Just before you go, just wonder whether you saw yourself mirrored in this report that you have done in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, just like you mentioned earlier, I was at the point of this research, I was asking myself, do I even know my local government chairman? Do I even know representing me at what level? So I think it's a reality that applies to all Nigerians, and so it's just like dissecting our current reality and how do we improve the situation. So yeah, the research speaks to me, it speaks to you, it speaks to every Nigerian.
It really does. Thank you so much for this, James. Appreciate your going through all of the work to make this happen.
Yeah,
Thanks again. And we're off on a short break on Network Africa, still ahead. Nigerian artists build miniature sets, you'll see that in a moment, and they also bring in handcrafted puppets to life, one frame at a time. Stay with us. Welcome back to Network Africa. With weather events happening around the world, the African Union is sounding the alarm over what could become one of the most powerful El Nino events in modern history, warning governments that time is running out to prepare. Speaking in Addis Ababa, the AU Agricultural Commissioner, Moses Vilakati, says forecasts indicate the climate phenomenon could peak between November 2026 and February next year, making it the strongest El Nino recorded since 1950. The AU warns the event could unleash widespread droughts, catastrophic flooding, prolonged heat waves, and food and water shortages, and disease outbreaks, placing millions of lives and national economies at risk. Mr. Vilakati points to the devastating 2023 to 2024 El Nino, which left more than 71 million people across southern Africa in need of assistance after crop failures, power disruptions, and worsening food insecurity. The Commissioner is now urging African governments to strengthen early warning systems and climate resilience, stressing that preparations made today could determine whether the continent faces a manageable emergency or a full-scale humanitarian disaster.
Various institutions, including ACMAT, regional climate centers, and national meteorological and hydrological services, continue to provide increasingly reliable scientific information that enables governments to anticipate climate risks. Earlier this morning, up until lunch hour, our experts carefully examined the latest scientific evidence and developed comprehensive recommendations for your consideration. I wish to take this opportunity to commend them for the excellent work they've accomplished. Their deliberations have provided a solid technical foundation for the political decisions that we shall make during this ministerial session. The decisions that emerge from this meeting, therefore, must be bold, practical, and implementable. Our citizens expect us to move beyond reports. They expect us to strengthen national preparedness plans, to invest in climate-resilient agriculture. They also expect us to protect water resources and critical infrastructure, as well as expand early warning systems to every village, to every farmer, to every pastoralist, to every vulnerable community, to ensure that no African loses his or her life because critical information failed to reach them in time, and to act with urgency that this moment demands.
The pressure is mounting on Uganda's government after opposition leader Dr. Kizza Besigye reportedly collapsed during a court appearance on Thursday, sparking protests beyond the country's borders. Demonstrators gathered in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, demanding Besigye's immediate release, describing his condition as critical and accusing Ugandan authorities of denying him due process. Activists say he is receiving intensive care under military guard after collapsing while protesting his treason trial and the detention of his lead lawyer, Erias Lukwago. Dr. Besigye's wife says he's unconscious in a Kampala hospital, while supporters claim he cried out moments before collapsing, Calls are also growing for Lukwago's release, with campaigners insisting both men are being treated unfairly. The veteran opposition figure, once a close ally and personal doctor to President Yoweri Museveni, now faces treason charges that carry the death penalty. His political party maintains this case is politically motivated, as concerns over his health and Uganda's justice system continue to intensify. At least 25 people have been killed, dozens more injured in Algeria after a passenger bus overturned near the coastal town of Boumed, east of the capital, Algiers. The country's civil protection department said the cause of the crash is still unknown. Those hurt have been evacuated to nearby hospitals for treatment. Algerian Prime Minister Sifi Grieb spoke to emergency service workers when he visited the crash site, where the coach could be seen lying at the bottom of a ravine. In a separate incident in August of last year, the AFP reported a bus crashed near Algiers, killing 18 people. In December of that year, 14 people died when their bus overturned in the southern region of Bachar. Road safety authorities in Algeria say 3,838 people died and more than 37,000 were injured in traffic accidents in 2025. Here in Nigeria, the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Bisinubu, has called for more assistance to give Almajiris and out-of-school children formal education. She made the call while welcoming the ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Nigeria, Ambassador Yusuf Mohammed Al-Balawi, to the State House. Senator Oluremi said the collaboration would help integrate the Islamic teachings and formal Western education aimed at protecting the future of this group of children.
I want to really help them. My heart goes out to them. I believe they need better care. Introduce them back to formal education, because all they have is just Islamic education and lack of food and lack of care. So if we're able to do that, I think, the future of Nigeria will be more secured. So I know, you are talking about trade relations and a lot of things we share. You are oil producing, we are oil producing, and we can learn from both countries. But for me, as a spouse here, is to give supportive and complementary role to the government and make sure that the government can also have smooth sailing, to run the nation. So that is where I come in, and that is my appeal to you.
Just days after South African singer Tyler released the dates for her upcoming world tour, Nigeria has been removed from the list of destinations. On Monday, the Grammy winner announced details of her globetrotting appearances coming on the heels of the release of her second album. Her official website initially named 34 cities, including Lagos, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, where she would be performing. But by Friday, an updated list was published without the Nigerian city. No reason has been given for the change, but there have been growing calls in Nigeria for the 24-year-old to cancel her concerts in the country over the recent wave of anti-migrant sentiment in South Africa. This quite creative revolution is unfolding in Nigeria, where Lagos-based filmmakers are redefining Africa's place in the global animation industry, one frame at a time. At Radiozotti Academy, stop-motion artist Esther Badamosi is training a new generation of animators using locally designed equipment, including what she describes as Africa's first affordable ball and socket amateurs. The custom-built skeletons allow handcrafted puppets to move with the precision needed for professional stop-motion filmmaking. Inside the studio, artists painstakingly assemble miniature sets, sculpt characters, and capture thousands of individual frames to create seamless movement. Badamosi says the goal is to remove the high cost of specialized equipment that has long limited African storytellers, proving world-class animation can be built with local innovation. I will give you the last fun fact for the week. Did you know Algeria's national animal is the fennec fox? Despite being the smallest fox in the world, it has some of the biggest ears relative to its size, measuring up to 6 inches or about 15 centimeters long. And those oversized ears are not just adorable, they help the fennec stay cool in the hot desert by releasing body heat and also giving it incredible hearing to detect prey beneath the sand. And that is a pretty amazing feature, I guess, on a tiny fox. Probably finds him as well in the hot seasons. Thanks for watching Network Africa. I'm Amarachi.